So there's one more route we can do. It's technically a secret character because you can't do it until you at least beat the game once. So it's like a new game plus route. I could have done it, right after I finished one ending, but I decided to do all the other endings first because I imagine that, obviously, the secret character might contain a lot of spoilers, so I wanted to save it for last. But in order to access it, though, I believe we just start a new game. So there's gonna be a lot of repeat dialogue, I imagine, because we're starting from the very beginning. But I believe there's some few choices here and there, especially the first one, I think, that would influence our route. Okay, this is new. As soon as the door opened, someone slammed into me, knocking me off onto the platform. I was checking the time on my phone and almost dropped it. Ah, wow. Okay, this is a new person. I was about to stumble off onto the tracks when someone caught me. I turned around to see who it was. There you go, that's the character. He looked cheerful and friendly. I thought I could smell the faint aroma of citrus. Thank you. Kanedebu? I followed his gaze down to my cell phone strap. I believe you choose... I wanted to make sure I get his route, so I think you choose this one. I looked up exactly what you need to do to get his route. Somebody I know who works at the park gave him to me. Art. With a grin, he turned and disappeared into the crowd. Alright. Classic anime trope, you just, stumble into a schoolgirl running with toast in her mouth, stumbling into somebody and falling in love. I don't know. Oh, this is new apparently. Excuse me, is this one taken? Oh. Okay, so there's this character, by the way. I think I know who. I think this is the singer actually for the opening and ending theme. I guess I haven't shown the opening theme, at least the way I'm gonna edit this on YouTube. But he's a singer basically. I think he's a cameo. But thanks. I imagine maybe this is more obvious if you were from Japan, maybe. Yeah, I know, I couldn't sleep either. Okay. I can see number over the man. Alright. Skip. I believe, by the way, just like a small fact, you know how everyone in Japanese keeps calling Hogstein, this Hogstein? They keep calling him Waru Debu, which always, didn't make sense to me, because that didn't really translate to Hogstein. But I guess the reason is because in Japanese, it's a pun on Kanedebu. Kanedebu is actually the mascot that was mentioned in the beginning, in the prologue. Their little phone strap thing. Waru Debu is actually just a pun, on that mascot's name. Waru meaning bad, and Bu meaning, or at least, is from the word that translates to pig in Japanese. So that's what Waru Debu. That's why we're gonna keep calling Hogstein Waru Debu, even though it doesn't really translate directly to Count Hogstein. I guess because they localized it, because they couldn't really make a pun out of that the same way in Japanese. They kept Kanedebu though for some reason. They didn't really explain Kanedebu, but I assume it also means some kind of pig. Kane. Well, when I think Kane, I think money, but I don't know if it's the same Kane. Okane? Money pig? Anyway. Beep 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 doo. Okay, so this is apparently new dialogue? Huh? He was looking straight at me, but before I could respond, the connection was cut. Was he talking to me? Why? Then again, it had been my fault that Mitarashi got her in the first place. Perhaps that was why. Okay, apparently that was new dialogue. I'm trying to skip it, but, you know, it doesn't work. He grimaced and pressed a hand against his shoulder. Why don't we sit down on the bench over there? I helped him over to the bench, and by the time we reached it, his breath was coming in pants. Pants? No, pants. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'll check the storage room Hogstein mentioned. Maybe they have some pain relievers. Can you wait here for a bit? But today's game is over, so I should be fine. You guys go get some rest. I think this is the same actually, yeah. This is like when, you know, all these guys, they say where they're gonna go. You have a choice to follow any of them. And probably get like a scene of them. Though I did try to go back to, I remember actually during Mesh's route, I tried to go back to his route and try to get a CG. When I follow him to the arcade and everything, but it didn't work. I guess it's because you need enough affection points during the, you know, the puzzle thing, and then go to the arcade, then you get a CG. I think maybe there's like specific requirements. Because the last time I tried, it didn't work. Anyway.
痛みが落ち着くまでは休んでる。この景色を見てた方が気も紛れるしな。お前らは気にせず行っていいぜ。
Once I fix them up, we'll head over to the restaurant.
了解した。ではまた後で合流しよう。
Alright. I followed the map in the plaza to the main office and found the storage room door unlocked. Well, I guess it would be kind of stupid for Hogstein to tell me to go somewhere and then lock the door. Well, I mean, he would just troll you, I guess. The power appeared to be out, though. I tried a light switch, but it didn't work. I shrugged, and it looked like the only light I would be getting was moonlight. Alright. It's probably on these shelves somewhere. Huh? It was just out of the corner of my eye, but I thought I saw something move in the gloom. What is that? I looked closer. There was something moving. Something pink? Is that? There was no mistaking it. The pink thing was a Kane Debu with its arms tied behind its back. Okay. As far as I could tell, it was rocking back and forth, trying to untie itself. Hold on, let me help you. Part of me said I was trying to do... Or probably what I was trying to do was a bad idea, but I couldn't just leave it. Once I pulled off the ropes, I unzipped the suit. Okay, he's so sweaty. Like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon, a man unfurled from inside the suit. Alright? So this is new, so you only get this, I guess, if you, go down, choose the correct option at the beginning, and then, I guess this kind of like moves you towards this kind of route. We never saw him before, was he? I don't know, actually. I had my theories, but maybe he was the missing person that Saki replaced when she volunteered to be part of the games and everything. So maybe he was stuck here, actually, this whole time. Nobody mentioned him ever in the other routes, though. Did he just suffocate here? I don't know. I was old enough to know people were inside the animal suits at parks, but knowing that and seeing it were two different things. Wait, he looks familiar. He's that dude we saw before. He was wearing a set of pink coveralls, but it was his face that I was sure I'd seen before. Hey. Of course, he's the guy I ran into this morning. He'd helped me through the crowds at the train station. Yeah, that was me.
そっかそっか。いやー、助かった。暑いし息苦しいしでほんと困ってたんだ。ありがとう。あ、自己紹介が遅れたね。俺は三上誠。20歳の大学生。君は？
Is that normal? Just say your full name, how old you are, and your occupation. It's very professional. It's like a job interview. I'm Inafune Saki. I'm still in high school.
サキちゃんか。よろしくね。
He gave me a gentle sort of smile, the kind that felt like it would immediately make anyone like him.
まさかこんなところでまた会えるとはね。
Me either. What a coincidence.
もしかしたら偶然じゃないかもよ。
Ah?
偶然じゃなくて運命ってことも考えられない？俺と君も運命の糸でつながってるのかも。なんてね。
Okay. He's a jokester. Oh. Man, you sound like some kind of romance novel. So, how did you get tied up like that?
俺はこの金戸部担当でね。これを着てオープニングイベントに出る予定だったんだ。けど式の直前になんか変なのに襲われてさ、目が覚めたらここにいたってわけ。
Was the weird thing he was talking about one of the piglets?
気絶するわ。目が覚めても身動きできないわ。放置はされるわで散々だよ。まったく。
You've been through a lot too.
もってことは君も？っていうか今って一体何が起きてるわけ？遊園地で監禁されるなんて普通じゃないよね。君は何か知ってるの？
As quickly as I could, I explained the entire game, the entire premise of this video game. How Hogstein had interrupted the opening ceremonies and taken the management hostage. How myself and 7 others had been forced to play a game for the lives of the hostages. And since he apparently been knocked out from the very beginning, I made sure to tell him everything. When I was finally finished, he let out a strange noise, but I couldn't really blame him. If I hadn't been there, I probably wouldn't have believed me. I know this must sound crazy, but I swear it's all true.
まあ正直にわかには信じがたいけど、俺も実際襲われてるからな。それに俺を襲ってきた黒い変なのと君の話に出てきた黒子だっけ？そいつらの特徴もまるっきり同じだしね。となるとあれもそのワルドブーってのの手下だったってわけか。なるほどね。
He seemed to be taking everything in stride.
ありがとう。おかげで状況は分かったよ。お互いとんでもないことに巻き込まれちゃったね。よし、そんじゃさ、俺が外に出て警察を呼んできてあげるよ。
Ah yes, just call the cops. Very easy. And then we win. What?
夜中にでもこっそり出れば誰にも見つからないだろうし。
No, you can't.
ダメ？なんで？
Hogstein will kill the hostages if you do. Why do you think the police haven't stormed the pork? The pork? I can't speak. Pork? Well, it's the pig. Anyway. Why do you think the police haven't stormed the park already?
なるほどね。つまり、うかつなことはできない。
I guess it would work. Storm the port? I mean, the bad guy is a pig, you know, the piglets. So the police would storm the port. Anyway. He nodded thoughtfully, but I got the feeling he didn't fully grasp the gravity of the situation.
それなら慎重に動かないとダメだね。
He does seem like he wants to help, though.
ところでさ、確か君は身内がこのランドの関係者だって言ってたよね。もしかしてその人も人質に？
Yes, my uncle.
そっか。ね、そのおじさんってさ、もしかして建設会社の社長さんだったりする？
No, that would be Urabe's father. Huh? No, my uncle is Keiji Inafune. He designed the park. Most of the time he makes video games, though. Do you know the president of the construction company?
いや、バイトの面接で会った人かなと思ってさ。
Suspicious.
その人にはいろいろとお世話になったからちょっと気になって。でも違う人だったみたいだ。
He sighed, then rolled his head around his shoulders and let out a groan.
一 人質がいる以上警察も呼べないとなると、あ、そうか。先に人質を助けちゃえばいいんじゃん。
His eyes sparkled and he grinned at his own cleverness.
そうだよ、そうすればいいんだ。俺が人質を助け出してきてあげるよ。
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
だってほら、俺はここで身動きが取れないと思われてるわけでしょ。監視の目もないし、割と自由に行動できると思うんだ。
But that's dangerous. Well, if they realize you've escaped, I'm sure they'll start hunting you down.
大丈夫、大丈夫。この着ぐるみを置いていけば、俺が逃げたってことは当分バレないよ。任せといてって。その代わり俺のことは君と俺、二人だけの秘密ね。バルド部はもちろん君の仲間に。
Okay, is that how he's, is that how the writers basically prevent this character from interacting with all the other ones? Why not?
そう。存在を知られたら動きにくくなるでしょ。どう？できる？
He grinned. Okay, let me just save. Did I save it? I don't know if I saved it actually. Save again, just in case. Usually an icon appears when I save, but I guess we're not really. Yeah, he grinned. Okay, we're not really on that route yet. Anyway, you say yes? All right, I understand. No, or no. How about no? I don't think that's a good idea. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it's a good idea to keep it from my teammates. Mikami's eyebrow shot up for just a second, but then he smiled.
君はとてもまっすぐな子だね。いいことだ。
Okay.
でもさ、上げ足を取るようで悪いけど、君は君の仲間、つまり他の参加者の人たちのこと、心から信頼してるの。
I wasn't sure what to say. I certainly wanted to trust them. We're going to have to depend on one another for the next 6 days after all. But did I really trust them yet? The truth was that I wasn't sure. I barely even knew them, even though I knew them in the other timelines. I knew their names and what they do, but that's about it.
それなら今はまだやめておこうよ。その人たちを疑うわけじゃないけど、下手に喋ってワルド部に聞かれてもまずいしさ。
Totally, I'm not saying that one was a treasure. Totally, Anyway, I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded.
じゃ、そういうことでよろしく。君には心苦しい思いをさせちゃうけどさ、作戦がうまくいくまでの辛抱だから。
I'll be alright. Be careful, Mikami.
ありがとう。それと、その呼び方変えない？俺のことは誠でいいよ。名前で呼ばれる方が好きなんだよね。
Are we friends? Are you sure? I mean, we just met.
気にしない、気にしない。だから、堅苦しい敬語もこれからはなしね。俺もその方が気楽だし嬉しい。
Well, legally, you are an adult. And Saki, again, well, in Japan, well, I don't know. I think, in Japan, she is technically a minor, right? So, well, alright, if that's what you want, cool, I can do that.
やっぱその方がいいね。
Though I guess it depends on the prefecture. Anyway. He grinned. There was something about him. He was so open and easygoing that I felt like we were friends even though I just met him.
よし、じゃあ俺は人質の救出。君はゲームのクリア。やることは別々だけど、お互い頑張るってことで。
Yeah, just don't do anything dangerous, okay?
ありがとう。君も気をつけて。それじゃあまたね。
And we never see him again. With a wave, he disappeared into the darkness. He's kind of weird, isn't he? Still, it was nice to discover we had another ally. My chest felt a little lighter. Oh geez, I totally forgot about Mitarashi. Because who cares about that guy? This is not his route. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
戻ってきたか。やけに遅かったけど、迷子にでもなったか。
No. I hoped he wouldn't press me for details since I wasn't sure how convincingly I could lie. But fortunately, Mitarashi didn't seem to suspect anything.
まあ、無事ならいいけどよ。 で、薬箱あったのか?
Yeah, I did. It's got some bandages, some antiseptic, and lots of painkillers. Antiseptics or antiseptics?
じゃあ、ちゃっちゃと済ませて、俺らも飯食いに行こうぜ。
Right, now, it took me only a few minutes to clean his wounds and bandage it. With that done, we headed to the restaurant to meet up with the others. Okay, I assume this is the rest of it's the same, right? So only like a few scenes, I feel like, of... Yeah, this is the same. So only a few scenes of the new character that's happening, I guess, on the side, while the main plot was happening. Anyway, so apparently this is new, I think? Yeah, this seems to be more new, or more stuff we haven't seen before. Is there someone there? This is after doing the whole All Alice Cart game and everything. Go back to the hotel, and then, well, I glanced around and I spotted a piglet watching me from the hallway. I cocked my head and began to wave. It seemed oddly cheerful. I was still trying to figure out what was going on when it walked up to me. Okay, what, one day no see? What do you mean one day? Oh, well, because it's been one day. That's... It's talking. I hadn't seen any piglets say a single word during the last 2 days. Was this one different somehow? Well, it's probably the same person we saw before, right? Huh? Perhaps I hadn't noticed it before, but I suddenly realized the air was filled with the smell of lemons. Lemons, eh? That reminds me of Kirby's route. Lemons. The voice sounded familiar. Is that you, Makoto? I kept my voice in a whisper. No, I kept my voice in a whisper, and he responded with a curt nod and beckoned me over behind one of the pillars. There you go. He's sweaty again. He's just always sweaty. He grinned at me as he pulled the mask off. That suit.
黒子ってやつ。昨日の倉庫を漁ってたら見つけたさ。ちょっと拝借してきた。この葉を隠すなら森の中って言うでしょ。この格好ならワルドブータワーにも楽に忍び込めるかなと思って。
Probably, but it still seems dangerous. He shrugged and proceeded to tell me that he'd gone into the castle. Sneaking to enemy territory, Hogstein had called us heroes, but Makoto was doing all the actually heroic stuff.
じゃあ手短に今日の収穫を話そうか。周りに怪しまれてもよくないしね。まず人質。彼らは君が言った通り、タワーの中にある檻の中にいたよ。布で覆われていたから中までは見えなかった。だけど食事が運ばれていたところを見ると、ひとまず全員無事みたいだ。
Oh, I guess that confirms that they were getting fed, as it turns out. Now, what about toilet breaks though? I was saying, you know, do the hostages have toilet breaks, however? Because otherwise they have to poop in the cage, is all I'm saying.
私は檻の前に黒子が一人。けどそいつも食事の時間になると少しの間だけいなくなる。助け出すならその隙しかないだろうね。
He helped? No, he held up a finger. So many typos in this game. This is like an officially licensed game, so I'm surprised there's so many typos. I don't know. He held up a finger as if to say one more thing.
ワルド部はある時間になるとエレベーターで上に登っていったんだ。おそらく君たちとのやりとりはそこでしているんだと思う。
Noon was when the game usually started.
エレベーターに近づくと他の黒子に怒られちゃうから推測だけど、上にはランド全体を見張るような装置があるんじゃないかな。例えば監視カメラの映像を見られるような機械とかモニターとか、それを見ながら奴は君らに指示をしてる。とまあ今日俺が得られた情報はそんなところかな。あ、もしかしてもう知ってた？
Well, yes. As the player, we already know all that. No, I didn't know any of it. It all sounds really important. I don't think we'd ever been able to find out that stuff on our own. Well, eventually we would in other routes, but anyway. He laughed.
ねえ、 一つ聞いてもいいかな。
His face was suddenly serious, and I jumped. It felt like even the air around him had changed. Oh no, he's going Super Saiyan.
もしもの話だけどさ、どうする？このゲームから今君だけが逃げられるとしたら。
You mean leave the park? I hadn't considered that I might be able to escape on my own. Save here. I guess we'll just be, you know, the generic, well, not generic, but you know, we'll be the heroic protagonist and say, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go. I couldn't just leave everybody behind.
そっか。相変わらずまっすぐだね、君は。
I guess he likes that. I don't know if you want him to like that, but he smiled at me again. Why did you ask me that?
無理してるんじゃないかと思ったんだ。本当はゲームなんかしたくないのに責任を感じてやめられないんじゃないかって。だからもし君が一言逃げたいと言ったら強引にでも外へ逃がしてあげようと思ってた。でも振られちゃったな。ごめんね、変なこと聞いて。
Oh. It seemed like he was honestly worried about me. He was probably right to be. The games we were playing weren't safe by any stretch of the imagination. They certainly weren't anything a normal person was prepared for, let alone a high school student. Sorry, thanks for worrying about me, though.
いやいや、俺の方こそごめん。余計なお世話だったね。俺もさ、人質を解放できる方法がないか、もう少し調べてみるよ。彼らを解放できれば、君たちも助けられるわけだしね。あ、そうだ。連絡先交換してもらえる？俺は内部にいる人間だから、ルール違反にはならないんだったよね。
Right, sure, one sec. We exchanged phone numbers quickly.
オーケーと。じゃ、何かあったら電話させてもらうから。
Alright.
と、そろそろ戻った方がいいかな。じゃ、またね。
He waved, spun around, and disappeared. Wow, that was pretty impressive actually. I never have found out all that stuff on my own. The question was whether or not I should tell the others what I'd learned. I felt like they should know, but I couldn't think of any way to explain it without revealing Makoto's existence. And Shirabe had been making me nervous. I caught him doing something. If he was a traitor, I should just hold on to this for now. After all, I could always tell them after I got everything straightened out. Yeah, better to wait until I trust them all completely. My mind made up, I stepped out from behind the pillar and headed off down the hallway. That scene done. Time to start skipping again. I fallen behind a bit when... Nani? I felt a hand grab my arm and my heart began to pound. Okay. This guy again? He's just around, I guess. The gentle voice in my ear? The gentle voice in my ear and the scent of lemons stopped me from screaming, and instead I hissed a whisper, like a snake. Hiss. Makoto? I turned around and there he was. What do you think? You came out of nowhere. Beep beep. Almost on cue, my watch began to beep. What is it? Oh, well, I'd love to hear it, but could you let me go first? Part of this game is I'll get game over if my heart rate goes too high. I'm trying to calm down, but... You're about to suplex me, so...
大丈夫?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but you know, the game itself is probably not the only reason to just randomly hug someone out of nowhere. As he released my arm and stepped back, I felt my heart rate begin to slow down again. So this important stuff.
あ、そうだった。時間もないから手短に言うね。実は昨晩、ワルドブーがいなくなった隙に、周りの目を盗んで頂上まで行ってみたんだ。いろいろと調べてるうちに、ワルドブーが戻ってきてさ、誰かと通信で話し始めたんだよ。相手の声は聞こえなかったんだけど、ワルドブーのやつ、今日のゲームはクリア失敗になるように仕向けるって。
What?
うまく誘導しろみたいなことを言ってたから、多分参加者の中にワルドブーの仲間が紛れてるんだと思う。
It was shocking, sure, but it did line up with what Hogstein had said to us about a traitor. We already know as the players, but...
戸惑うとは思うけど、俺の言葉信じてくれる?
A traitor. A traitor. Not a trader as in like, you know, buying and selling items, but a traitor as in someone who betrays. Hold up. Hold it. Hold it. Objection. Take that. I frowned. It was true that some of them had been acting suspicious, but I still wasn't ready to believe that they'd betray us. I don't think they're lying or anything, it's just, I don't want to jump the gun.
仲間のことを信じてるんだ。
I want to.
そっか、仲間だもんね。そういうのってなんかいいな。
He grinned and scratched at his cheek bashfully. Why is he blushing? I don't understand.
まあ水を差すわけじゃないけどさ、そういう可能性もあるってことだから、とりあえず怪しい人の言動には注意して。もちろん疑いたくない気持ちもわかるよ。でもこれは命に関わる問題だから、気をつけるに越したことはないでしょ。
I guess you're right. What Makoto had learned did worry me. It wouldn't hurt to just keep my eyes open. I nodded.
ま、もし何かあっても大丈夫だけどね。俺がちょちょいっと助けちゃうからさ。君には借りもあるし、そこは安心しててよ。
He tapped his fist against his chest and grinned. There was no denying his charisma. Is he? Is he all that charismatic? I still didn't know him that well, but I got the feeling he was telling the truth.
さ、もう言って。俺も戻るから。さっきのことを心に留めておいてね。
I don't know, he sounds sinister when he slows down and talks like this. And then he goes into his ASMR, how you say that? ASMR voice at the end of his sentences. It just sounds suspicious. He whispered goodbye and then disappeared into the darkness. I composed myself, then set off after the other members of my team. Alright, so again, extra little scene with him. And this should be the turning point, actually. This is around when things change. So we should be getting into the actual meat of the secret character routes pretty soon. Okay, this is new. Okay, so this is around when the Bloodstained Hotel exploded. Or not the... I keep saying hotel. Why do I keep saying hotel? Bloodstained Hospital exploded because Urube, trying to betray Hogstein, got double betrayed instead, and you know, got the wrong answer, and therefore everything is exploding now. He probably, you know, he showed the secret passage so everyone could escape, but the hospital itself still exploded. The blast had lifted me into the air. And there's Makoto. So yeah, depending on the route, usually the person that you go, usually the person that you're pining on, you know, in that route, usually they save you around in this, you know, time. So there you go, there's Makoto. Just as I was about to tumble to the ground, an arm caught me. A voice. Mako. I tried to call his name, but the heat and dust of the blast had dried up my throat so much I could barely speak. Another explosion roared through the air around us, drowning out his words. I felt his body stiffen. And a shockwave slammed into my body, and my consciousness winked out.
おい、大丈夫か？
大丈夫か? My eyes fluttered open. Shido?
よかった。お前も無事だな。
He leaned back and let out a sigh of relief. Somehow I seemed to have escaped the explosion. The hospital hadn't been so lucky. All that was left was a smoking crater. I looked around. The others were sitting nearby, looking battered and shaken. Mitarashi was grimacing and holding a hand to his stomach. He must have been gone injured again, but he seemed to have been the only one. Urube. Urube's not here, and neither is Makoto. I had a feeling Urube had chosen not to join up with us, but what about Makoto? The next voice I heard was one I would have been happy to never hear again. And then back, go back to... It goes back to the main plot. Anyway, everyone looked exhausted. We shared some short goodbyes and headed for our rooms. The moment I closed the door, I collapsed into my bed, expecting to be asleep before my head hit the pillow. That didn't happen. I couldn't seem to get my thoughts straight. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. I wonder if Makoto's alright. As the fog began to clear from my mind, he was the first thing I thought of. He said he'd come help me if I was ever in trouble, but I didn't think he'd actually come rescue me. But he had. If it wasn't for Makoto, I'd definitely have gotten caught in the hospital explosion. I hope he didn't get hurt. When I woken up, he was gone. I felt a little bad for passing out. Oh, that's right, I could call him. I completely forgotten that we exchanged numbers the day before. I quickly scrolled down to his name and pressed the call button. What's up, Yuchimiji? You staring emo? Too bad that my internet is low. My internet is kind of sucking right now. That's not great. But yeah, I'm just doing, the final route in this game. The secret character. He's not answering. Tried a few more times, but it just went straight to voicemail. Without any other way to get in touch with him, I was at a dead end. I threw myself back down the bed. There's always tomorrow. I hope you're safe, Makoto. I'm sure he's fine. My internet's not fine, though. It's dying. I don't know why. Anyway, alright, time for me to get some sleep. I was gonna need my rest, so the sooner I got into bed, the better. Is this normal? Yeah, this is normal. So, yeah, that was the small scene involving Makoto. I guess was technically new. But, alright, so we go properly into stage 4, and this is when his actual route really starts to begin, and probably we'll learn more about him. Alright, let's begin Makoto's route. The final character in this game. He's a hidden character that you never actually meet in any of the other routes, so he's quite hidden. I believe you see him actually in the opening song, so that's part of the reason I didn't want to show the opening song, at least when I put this on YouTube. I'm not going to show that part. That's the one reason. The other reason might be copyright claims, but anyway. So let's go. Let's see. It was my phone that woke me up, not the alarm. Who could be calling me this early? I didn't want to wake Mai up, so I crawled carefully toward the side table where I set my phone. What? The name on the display blasted away the last bits of sleep from my mind. It was Makoto. Hello? Makoto?
Saki-chan.
There was no mistaking his voice, but it sounded small and weak. Well, thank goodness you're okay. I've been trying to get hold of you, but you didn't pick up. I was so worried. Okay, he's dying. Oh no. What?
ワルド部に見つからないよう隠れてたんだけど、昨日の爆発で負った怪我が思ったよりひどいみたいでさ。
What? Oh no.
しばらく動けそうにないかな。
That sounds serious. Where are you right now?
君と再会したあの倉庫。まずい、近くに誰かいる。
Makoto. He hung up. I stared down at my cell phone. He'd been caught in the explosion and he'd been hurt. In fact, he's been hurt so badly that he couldn't move, and he didn't sound very good. What am I going to do? I wanted to go check on Makoto and see if I could do anything to help, but I still hadn't told anyone about him yet. Oh, I'm sorry, Mai. Did I wake you up?
起きた。ねえ、お姉ちゃん。今、誰かとお話ししてた？
What? No, I don't think so. I was probably just talking in my sleep. Yes,
寝
of
言
course. The little girl doesn't seem, you know, convinced. But I think also she's probably just sleepy. It looks like breakfast is here. Go wash up, okay?
わかった
I don't like lying to Mai, but I don't really have a choice. We finished our breakfast and got dressed, but I still didn't know what I was going to do. Only that I couldn't get Makoto out of my head. But the game is starting soon. The only way I was going to get to see Makoto was if I got out of the game somehow. Would Hogstein let me do that? And even if I did, how would I explain it to the others? I was still the only person who knew about Makoto. I was deep in thought when I heard a knock on the door.
指導だ。少しいいか。
Yeah, hold on, I'm coming.
そろそろ出る時間だ。支度はできているか。
Yeah, did you come here just to ask me that?
まあ、それもあるが、みたらし流星のことで少しな。
Oh, what about him? I'd been so preoccupied with Makoto that I momentarily forgotten Mitarashi had gotten hurt too, protecting Wakasan.
どうやら怪我の具合があまり良くなさそうだ。奴は今日一日休ませることにした。
Is it that serious?
本人は平気だと言ってる。だが、明らかに痩せ我慢が伺えるからな。なんとか納得させた。今日のゲームは5人で挑むことになる。おそらく過酷になるが、お前もそのつもりでいてくれ。
Well, that makes it harder to get out of the games. Okay, thanks.
どうした？何かあったのか？
No, nothing, I'm fine.
それならいいが。じゃあ、10分後には集合だ。遅れるなよ。
So, Mitarashi isn't gonna be in the game either. Getting out of the day's game to check up on Makoto was getting harder and harder. I mean, it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. Unless we just run off, you know, it's like, see ya guys! As soon as we stepped off the hotel, we headed for the plaza. The path took us past the hospital, or perhaps more accurately, the remains of the hospital. I'd been too shaken the day before to really look at it, but the dust had cleared and I was able to see what the explosion had done. The entire building was gone, reduced to twisted rubble piled around a massive crater. Standing on the edge of the crater. Keep doing that.
跡形もないね。昨日まで建物があったとは思えないや。あれだけの爆発だ。無理もないよ。
I looked at the ruins of the hospital and shivered. But even though the explosion had been powerful enough to level the entire building, no one had died. That had to be some kind of miracle. We hadn't gone through entirely unscathed though, and Mitarashi had gotten hurt, and so had Makoto. Mitarashi was recuperating back in the hotel with Mai, but Makoto was hiding, alone and in pain. And it was pain I caused him. I have to go. I couldn't just leave him alone to suffer, especially if he was suffering because of me. Excuse me. Everyone turned to look at me. Would it be okay if I, leave?
何？
Nani?
ちょっと待て、お嬢ちゃん。それ。
I'm sorry, I know this is selfish, but there's something I really have to go do.
待って待って。ここで君が抜けちゃったら、僕らは4人でゲームをクリアしなくちゃいけなくなるんだよ。何か理由でもあるの？
Mitarashi wasn't the only person hurt in the explosion yesterday. I want to go make sure the other person is okay, alright?
待て、それはつまり、俺たち参加者の他にも、このテーマパークの中に誰かがいるということか。
I nodded.
なんだってそんな大事なことを今まで黙ってた。
もうすぐ12時になる。ゲームに向かうなら急がないと。
わかった。行ってこい。負傷者を放置するわけにもいかないからな。
Thank you so much.
ただし、 詳細は後で必ず聞かせてもらう。いいな。
As Crystal, as soon as I'm done, I'll come join up with you guys. Before Shido could change his mind, I turned and took off toward Makoto. It was that easy. Just literally leave. That's exactly what I said. Makoto! There's no response from inside the storage room. Is in anyone here? Had Hogstein found him? Perhaps he was just asleep, or perhaps his injury had gotten worse and he... Hundreds of possibilities, each worse than the last, tumbled through my mind. Makoto? I began to search every inch of the room, behind the shelves, in boxes, even in the suit he'd worn on the first day. After several nerve-wracking minutes, I finally spotted him, lying on the floor in the corner. He was on his back, mostly hidden in the shadow, his right arm over his stomach, and his his face was twisted in a grimace of pain. Makoto! He moved and groaned the sound of his name, and his eyes fluttered open. Muscles I hadn't known were tense, suddenly relaxed. Are you okay? That well?
Saki-chan.
Oh well, guys, He sat up and hissed in pain.
でも本当に来てくれるとは思ってなかった。いいの？ゲームの方は。
I shouldn't I? I mean, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. I told them I had to go check on someone. I'm sure they can handle whatever the game is until I get back.
そっか。いい信頼関係が築けたみたいだね。
Okay. Because it seems like, I guess the decisions where actually, you know, you don't necessarily just agree with him or, you know, or anything like that. It's mostly about the power of friendship and, like, being honest is how you get points with him, maybe. So how are you? Are you hurt really bad?
ああ、うん。一応自分で処置はしたんだ。血とかは止まってる。ただ、さすがにまだちょっと痛みがね。
He grimaced a little as he said it, and absently pressed his hand to his stomach. You were bleeding? That sounds pretty dangerous, or serious rather.
いや、本当に少しだけだよ。すぐに止まったから大したことないよ。はあ、かっこ悪いな。弱音を吐いた挙句、こんなところを見られるなんて。俺の予定としてはもうちょっとうまく助けられるつもりだったんだけど。しくじっちゃったな。
You need to rest and let yourself heal. Is there anything I can do?
ゲームには戻らなくていいの。呼んどいて買ってたけど、俺なら平気。君の顔見たら元気も出たし。
He grinned, but I shook my head. I'm gonna stay here a little longer. I still feel bad. You only got hurt because of me.
君が責任を感じることないのに。俺が助けたかったから助けたんだよ。でもそうだな。何かしてくれるって言うなら、君に一つだけお願いをしてもいい？
What is it?
そう、お願い。
What's the favor? Fade the black? Oh. Lap pillow? Are you really sure this is what you want?
ちょうどいい。もう最高。
Really? Well, I guess as long as you're happy. My voice wavered. I didn't think he'd ask if he could put his head on my lap.
仰向けで寝てると後頭部が痛くてさ。傷が痛むから横向きにもうつ伏せにもなれないし困ってたんだ。
Well, I'm glad I could help. I was working hard to look anywhere but into Makoto's eyes, but his position was making them difficult. A man laying his head on my lap certainly had been on the list of things I expected to happen that day, but it's an anime trope, so you should expect it all the time. Especially if you're a female protagonist in a Tome game. I mean, come on.
君たちのことがちょっと羨ましかったんだよね。
What? Why?
なんでかな。なんていうかさ、こんな命がかかってるような状況なのに、みんなで一緒に頑張ってる感？チームワークっていうのかな。助け合ったり協力したり、そういうのがなんだかんだで楽しそうに見えたんだよね。
Fun. I was surprised to think he'd seen it that way. I was sure none of us had thought it was fun at all.
当事者の君たちにしてみれば冗談じゃないって思うよね。だけどさ、外野の立場としてはそれがちょっとだけ羨ましかったんだ。同じ時間同じ場所にいたのに、ちゃんとした仲間になり損ねちゃったな。ごめんね、結局あんまり役に立てなくて。
Hey, don't say that. I think of you as one of us, even though none of them know about you.
そうかな。そうだったら嬉しいな。ありがとう、サキちゃん。
He smiled, wide and slow, and then his eyes began to droop closed. And then he died. Makoto, you alright?
平気。ちょっと眠いだけ。
His eyes closed, but moments later I heard a quiet snore and let out a sigh of relief. Should I call the others? I'm worried about what's going on with the game. It was already past noon though, which meant they had probably already entered the attraction. There's no way for me to get a hold of them. I should have realized that was what happened. I sighed. Okay. Hogstein. The door slammed open with such suddenness and force I nearly jumped out of my skin. I held my breath as I listened to the heavy thumping footsteps come closer. Hogstein round the corner and came to view, a gun in his hands. He already has a gun? That's quick. What is he doing here? Shouldn't he be supervising the game? He began to walk toward us, his massive body shaking with each step. I held out my arms in what was probably a vain attempt to protect Makoto. How are they doing? Are they okay? Desperately, I tried to convince Hogstein that since Makoto had been in the park since the beginning, he wasn't breaking any rules. It seemed to work, and he admitted I have a point. What choice? Leave? You mean you let me go outside? He continued on explaining that because I volunteered Makoto was here by chance, neither of us was part of his larger plan. Therefore, letting us go was better than keeping us around or he might mess up the game. Oh, okay. What? This is horrible. Leave with him, stay, can't choose. Obviously, we shouldn't just leave. That would be against Saki's whole ideology of helping everyone out in the first place. Staying would just get him killed. I don't know, I guess we could choose I can't choose. I mean, that would be nothing, I guess. We'd just choose nothing. This is a very hard ultimatum. I don't know. I can't choose. I can't choose. You're asking me to abandon my friends or leave Makoto to die, and I won't do it. I'll save Makoto and stay here to play your ridiculous games. That's my answer. I knew I was being reckless, but if there was another way, I would have taken it.
やっぱりね。
Huh? I looked down at Makoto and he was smiling.
君ならそう言うと思ったよ。サキちゃん、君は本当に興味深い。
What do you mean? He sat up.
言ってって。
Are you okay?
は
Hasta luego. I keep
あ、思
saying
ったほどひどくはないみたい
hasta
だ。
luego.
それにまあ、自業自得だしね。
Petard? What did that mean? What had hoisted him? I was still trying to figure out what he meant when Hogstein lowered his gun. His tone was so congratulatory, I almost expected it to be followed by some sort of cheesy "tada" sound effect. What? Your guests where? He gave me a clumsy salute and waddled closer. Nani? Before I could say anything, he pulled out an oddly shaped bottle and sprayed something into my face. What does it smell? It was almost sickeningly sweet, and suddenly my brain felt clumsy and slow. Can't keep my eyes open. Meh. Not again. This always keeps happening. Skip. Alright, you saw that? Stage 5. I blinked my eyes slowly and sat up to find myself in a strange room. What happened? I racked my still clouded mind to try and remember, and it wasn't long before I did. Hogstein had shown up when I was checking on Makoto. He'd asked me a weird question, and when I gave him my answer, he sprayed me with something. What was that in that bottle? One spray was enough to knock me on my butt. My head still feels funny. It also seemed to have given me a pounding headache. Now, with some sort of sleeping gas, I guess. Hogstein. I jumped when I noticed him standing in front of a desk on one side of the room. The top floor. I looked around the room. One wall was covered in television screens. It's supposed to be plural there, I think. Showing what appeared to be camera feeds. Around the screens were dozens of notes. Wait, where's Makoto? The only other person in the room was Hogstein. He threatened Makoto earlier, and after he knocked me out, he could have... Oh no. Hey, where's Makoto? He ignored my question and pressed one of the buttons on his console. The screens changed to show a single image. It was a dark room, lit only by dim lights. The walls were lined with aquariums full of tropical fish and... What? Is it the Bizarre Planet? Yeah, it's Urube. This happened before in Shido's route. Tied up inside the huge aquarium was Urube. Urube! Okay, this is through the recording. He slowly lifted his head and it looked like we could hear each other. Hogstein brought me here, but what about you? Are you okay? Mr. Wolf! Every time I see "Are you okay?" Japanese probably, the character's probably saying "Daijobu," "Daijobu." But in English, I always just think, Master Wolf. Are you okay? Master Wolf! He was working hard to smile, but he looked exhausted. Urube had been fighting for us, even when we didn't know it. Connection to what? And I feel like I've heard M2 somewhere before. What? I had no idea what they were talking about. Hogstein looked over at me and began to speak. 12 years ago, there had been a horrific traffic accident, as we learned in all the other routes. One of the Kanado City buses had gone over the center divider and crashed into a car. Both vehicles had caught on fire, and nearly everyone in the crash had been killed. And it happened at night, but there had been nothing to obstruct the vision of the drivers, so the police had initially examined it as a possible criminal case. After only a week, however, they decided that it had clearly been an accident and the police investigation was closed. The accident had been big news for several days. Case. Wait, I thought the police had decided it was an accident. Oh, it was no accident. Shirobei had said he'd come to the park chasing a mystery. So that's it, huh? Now that I thought about it, Shirobei had mentioned someone named M2. And Urube had just called Hogstein that. Does that mean? I glanced over at Hogstein. There was a lot more going on here than I could see. I didn't know what yet, but it was there. Urube twitched as if he'd been hit. After several long, silent moments, he lifted his head and spoke. His voice was flat, drained, and resigned. It didn't take long for me to understand why. I mean, not directly. He didn't murder them, himself. Rather, he hired someone to do it. I assume that's what, I think that's what happened, right? He hired somebody to do it. And it seems like we're really focusing on this mystery now, so maybe we'll learn more. Because, we've already kind of learned a lot of it through, especially like Shido's route and Shirobei's route. In particular, that kind of focus on the mystery a little bit. But we never really knew, like, the whole reason. The bigger picture of why this is all happening in the first place. Maybe we'll learn more of this route. And that part. His voice sounded cruel and mocking. Yeah, I remember, in Urubei's route, we went over this, right? Why not just punish the dude directly? But Hogstein, I can't remember if he said anything, but he just had other reasons? Urube. When he spoke, Hogstein's voice was cold. What? He sounds like a completely different person. Before he could finish, the screens blinked off. I looked over to see Hogstein with his hand on the button. You know? Yeah, again, it wasn't really explained, but maybe I get it now. I have an idea why. Yeah, because I know of Hogstein's motivations, for example. He never directly kills anyone, right? Maybe. Well, we'll see. I have an idea, but let's see if they'll probably just explain it 5 seconds later. He turned to look at me, and I felt something strange for him. Why did you tell me all this? We just looked at one another for several long moments until Hogstein reached up and adjusted the skull in his chest. There you go. I had my suspicions. I could see that the person standing in front of me was Hogstein, so why did he sound like... Makoto? Dun dun dun. He gave a small nod and began to unzip the Hogstein suit. That's the reason why we've never seen him all this time.
Mikami Makoto. Initial MM で M2.
No, I didn't get that. I didn't really get that, but I guess that's M2. All right, there you go. But yeah, that's why you never see him. Is because it turns out the final round in this game is Hogstein himself. You can actually date the big bad villain himself. You know, amazing, and also pretty like manipulative. You know, all this time he was just pretending to save Saki and have this whole backstory of like, oh no, you know, like let's work together and everything. But actually, he like manipulated everything in the first place. It's like the puppet master. It's kind of creepy actually, how he just kind of like made up everything, you know, involving Saki. He climbed out of his suit and gave me a smile and a shrug. Makoto is Hogstein? No, that was impossible. This reminds me of Star Wars. Luke, I am your father. No, that's impossible. Hogstein has shown up when I was in the storage room with Makoto. Well, that was probably a decoy. That was a piglet wearing the Hogstein costume, as we've learned in the other routes. Still, I was sure what I just seen was very real. So, you've been lying to me? There were 100 different questions swirling around in my head, but that one had clawed up its way to the top. If Makoto had always been Hogstein, then everything he told me was a lie. Well, he could just told me the truth about some things, but the reason he told me were much different than what I thought. He smiled helplessly.
ごめんね。君があまりにも興味深かったから、じっくりと観察させてもらってたんだ。
Oh no. No, the evil psychopath has a crush on you, the female protagonist. Oh, you're a jerk.
反論はしないよ。もともとはさ、俺が自ら7人目の参加者になる予定だったんだ。
Oh, interesting.
でも君が立候補したことで、
I want to see that play out though.
なくなっちゃった。
If this was an Otome game, and like he was actually the 7th player, that would be interesting. I kind of wish that was the game, but anyway.
それでも君の参加を認めたのはゲームが進むなら別にいいと思ったから。目的が果たせるなら俺は何でもよかった。君はゲームの進行にも協力的だったし、むしろ好都合なくらいだった。だから俺も最初はおとなしくしてる予定だったんだよ。でも監視しているうちにだんだんと君に興味が湧いてきちゃってさ、直接話したくなって1日目の夜に接触を試みたってわけ。
This is messed up, by the way. His voice was detached and unapologetic, and I felt anger start to boil in my chest. Uh-oh. Dave, before I get shot in the face, he thought I was interesting? That's it? Did he lie about being hurt too? I was worried sick about him. I trusted him. I can't believe he lied to me like that. Get freaking mad. What's wrong with you? Probably a lot of things. His eyebrows went up and he stumbled back in a step in surprise.
確かに最初は興味本位だった。でも、君を騙したことは本当に反省してるんだ。
That's the thing of lying. You know, you can apologize, but how can you tell if he's just not lying again?
だから、もう少しだけ俺の話を聞いて。ゲームの方はもう一人のワルドブーに任せてある。だから時間はあるんだ。
Another one. He looked at me and his mouth bent into a crooked smile.
さっき話した事故のこと、君は知ってたかい?
Well, if I was a time traveler, I would know. I shook my head. I had still been a kid back then. If I'd heard anything, I didn't remember it.
まあそうだろうね。たとえ大きくなってから聞いたとしても、当事者や遺族以外にとっては興味のない話。せいぜい数年おきに地元のニュースや雑誌で過去の事故として取り上げられる程度さ。世間なんてそんなもんだよね。
We live in a society. Were you involved in it somehow? Well, he was probably the kid we saw before in the flashbacks, you know, involving the pendant and everything. We've always had a lot of allusions to that, but only until we actually play as route do we get answers, I feel like. So without speaking, Makoto rolled up his left sleeve and stuck his arm out toward me. Okay? Nice scar, dude.
女の子にあんまり見せたくないんだけどね。怖がられることもあるから。
I don't know, it's not really that bad. Then again, it's like, you know, anime scars. It's always anime scars, usually for most characters in anime. I guess maybe in any kind of media. Often when there are scars on characters, often they look cool, you know? They don't look like in real life. Sometimes they get very really bad, disfigured and random, but usually in fiction, scars often are designed in such a way that it's actually, you know, artistically it looks good, you know. Anyway, a huge painful looking scar ran from near his wrist all the way up to his shoulder. What? As he rolled his sleeve back down, Makoto gave me a melancholy smile.
あの事故で俺の家族は全員死んだよ。
Exclamation mark.
あの日仕事で忙しかった父さんが久しぶりに休みを取ってくれて家族と遊園地に出かけたんだ。父さん、母さん、それに妹。家族揃っての外出は久しぶりだったから俺も妹もすごく嬉しかった。あんなことさえなければ家族の楽しい思い出として残るはずだった。遊園地からの帰りのことさ。俺たちが乗った車の前に突然バスが飛び込んできたのは、母さんは俺と妹を守るために手を伸ばし、父さんはとっさにハンドルを切った。だけど車はバスにぶつかり燃えた。燃え盛る車のそばで俺は必死になって家族たちを呼んだよ。体をゆすり、起きて目を開けてと何度も叫んだ。だけど結局生き残ったのは俺一人だけだった。
And after that, he must have been alone, just like he said. Is that why you're trying to get revenge? All for revenge. Such a lust for revenge. Or maybe not, I don't know. He's saying revenge question mark? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not? Oh.
これは復讐じゃない。反対だ。
He's going yandere mode, just like Urube. As soon as I mentioned revenge, his face had contorted with rage.
あれは事故なんかじゃない。殺人事件だ。あの男の黒い欲望によって罪のない大勢の人たちが犠牲になった。最悪の。それなのに家族が死んでいるのに真実を隠蔽した悪党が笑うなんて理不尽すぎる。だから僕は決めたんだ。何年かかってもいい。ありとあらゆる手を使い事故のことを調べてやると。そしてついに知ったんだ。
Crazy eyes.
事故扱いになったのはある政治家が警察に圧力をかけたからだってことも、それを依頼したのが浦部という男だってことも。だから僕は君に近づいたんだ。偶然のふりをして意図的にね。全ては彼から父親の情報を引き出すために。僕の思惑通り彼はいい情報をくれたよ。父親の会社が巨大テーマパークの建設受注を談合によって手に入れたこととか。それが社運をかけた大事業らしいと聞いて、それを聞いて僕の準備が進んできた。人生の絶頂であろうその瞬間をその場で崩壊させてやるために。
I was speechless. Actually, let me see that again. So what was the plan? So like he turned to be he went to, you know, the Urube we know, the fortune teller Urube, specifically to get to his father and everything, right? There's his father like a contract for a theme park through bid rigging, threats, and bribes, obviously. So yeah, so that's why he wants to blow the park, because he you know, Urube's father invested a lot of money in the theme park itself, and so if he, you know, destroys everything, I guess that will be his ultimate punishment. Apparently, he calls it punishment, not revenge, even though I feel like it's pretty similar. It's pretty much the same thing. Anyway, I was speechless. The park my uncle had created as a place for dreams to flourish was instead the focus of an old, vicious grudge. Makoto wanted nothing more than to blow it up. As much as he said that he didn't need any friends, behind the rage and despair in his voice, I could hear a deep, aching loneliness.
どうして俺が君にここまで話したかわかるかい？
I shook my head. SMH?
率直にお願いするよ。君にはゲームへの復帰は諦めて、おとなしくここから出て行ってほしいんだ。さっきも言った通り、君は予定になかった登場人物だ。俺の目的にとって君という存在は好ましくない。言ってる意味わかるよね。俺の話に少しでも共感してもらえたならすぐに出ていくと言ってよ。ね。
Well, I mean, sorry, dude. This is not how protagonists work. You can't just abandon the power of friendship. So, I don't know. What will happen? The similar thing happened before, where you can make a choice whether or not to leave with him or whatever. I imagine because that was Hogstein, actually, probably you don't actually get to leave, or maybe you do, but that's like a bad ending. I don't know. Well, I can't do that. I can't do that.
できない。どうして？
I understand where you're coming from, but this is wrong. Besides, I couldn't just leave my friends behind. Makoto smiled.
君ならそう言うんじゃないかと思ってたけど、実際に言われると少し困っちゃうね。
Please, Makoto, just stop this whole thing. Couldn't you release the hostages at least?
それだけはできない。言ったでしょ。これは断罪なんだ。あの男を裁くまで俺はやめないよ。
Makoto.
残念ながら交渉決裂だね。
He let out a long sigh, then turned and began to walk away from me.
そろそろ対話の時間は終わりだよ。また明日。
He stepped into the elevator and the doors closed behind him. This is a lot to take in. The last half hour had been full of so many revelations that my mind was reeling. I know I needed to sort everything out, but I couldn't bring myself to start. I wonder what Makoto was going to do with me. He said he didn't want me interfering in his game, so why hadn't he just gotten rid of me when I refused to leave? Probably because he has a crush on you. Oh jeez. Because you have the harem protagonist EX trait. I totally forgot that the game was still going on. As much as I was worried about myself and Makoto, I still need to get back to the others. No matter how many times I pressed the elevator button, nothing happened. Makoto had likely shut it off. Well, this is what happens when a psychopath has a crush on you. They trap you in a room, and you can't do anything about it. Well, I still got my cell phone. Dang, no reception. The walls must have been pretty thick because I wasn't getting any reception. Unsure what to do next, I sat down where I was. Well, hopefully we get toilet breaks. Every time we get trapped, this happened like 3 times already. Get trapped in the room. Hopefully we get toilet breaks. I haven't seen toilet breaks yet. I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, stage 6. Eee.